You may see devastation. God sees a blueprint. Some things in life don't break clean, they collapse. What once stood tall now lies in fragments, relationships, dreams, callings. You stand there staring at what's left, wondering if anything can grow from here. It looks like the end, but heaven sees a construction site. God doesn't avoid ruins. He enters them. He rebuilds on them, and when he does, he makes something stronger than what once stood. Structures that hold deeper character, wider mercy, and unshakable purpose. Let's begin. God doesn't just build on victories, he builds on ruins. And they shall build the old wastes, they shall raise up the former desolations. Isaiah 61:4. Ruins don't scare God, he specializes in them. Like Nehemiah inspecting Jerusalem's broken walls by night, God moves slowly through the wreckage, mapping out what others mourn. Whispering blueprints where others only see failure. He walks with vision where fear has left silence. Let him inspect the ruins. He doesn't see collapse. He sees a calling. What fell apart didn't fall out of his reach. The woman at the well was used to avoidance. Men left, religion judged. But Jesus didn't step back. He stepped right into her ruin and rewrote her future. He sees past the debris and speaks destiny. Uncover what you buried. His voice still echoes through broken places. Even devastation has a blueprint. Before the prodigal rehearsed his apology, the father had already drawn the welcome home banner in his heart. The feast was scheduled while the son still reeked of regret. Don't assume God is scrambling. He's been preparing your return from the beginning. You see ashes. He still smells the fire. Elijah once called down fire from heaven. Then later sat under a tree, ready to quit. That's what exhaustion does. It buries altars in silence. But God doesn't forget the places you once burned for him. Don't dismiss the smoke. He knows how to stir the coals again. Some things break so you can build better. The temple curtain tore from top to bottom. God's doing, not man's. That tear didn't destroy access. It created it. Sometimes the collapse is holy disruption. Don't rush to fix the tear. Ask what new access it's granting. What collapsed may have cleared the clutter. Lot's wife looked back, longing for a place God was trying to empty from her heart. Not everything we lose is loss. Some removals are divine releases. Let go of what he pried from your grip. What feels like emptiness may be space carved out for something sacred. Ownership begins restoration. David didn't begin healing until he stopped hiding. The moment he said, "I have sinned," grace rushed in like a flood. God never needed perfection, just permission. Name the ruin. That's when the rebuilding begins. The enemy hopes you'll walk away. Peter denied Jesus, and shame nearly drove him back to his old life. But Jesus showed up with breakfast and a new assignment. Your worst moment isn't stronger than his calling. Don't bow out. Redemption still has your name on it. Even ruins have value in God's economy. When the crowd was hungry, Jesus didn't ask for what they dreamed of having. He asked what was left. 5 loaves, 2 fish. In God's hands, broken fragments become miraculous feasts. Stop hiding your scraps. Hand them over. He turns fragments into feasts. Grief and grace often share the same ground. Mary came to the tomb weeping, but it was empty. Her sorrow was standing in the presence of resurrection and didn't know it yet. Sometimes our grief blinds us to what God has already raised. Don't assume it's over. Look again. There may be life where you last lost hope. What looks like an ending might be the empty tomb. The stone wasn't just rolled away to release Jesus, it was to invite witnesses in. From the outside, it looked like loss. Inside, it held the greatest miracle the world has ever known. Step closer. What you fear may be the place you finally find resurrection. You can be called and crushed at the same time. Joseph's dreams came wrapped in betrayal, dungeons, and delays. The crown didn't erase the pit, it came through it. God didn't change his mind while Joseph suffered. He was shaping him. Don't misread crushing as cancellation. The call still stands. Tears can soften the soil where rebuilding begins. Jeremiah wept for a nation crumbling, but those tears were not wasted. They became water for the roots of truth. Sorrow and seeds often share the same ground. Don't dry your eyes too quickly. Something sacred might be sprouting beneath the sorrow. If the walls fell, maybe they weren't meant to stand. Jericho's walls didn't fall from weakness, they fell by God's command. Not every collapse is the enemy's doing. Some ruins are strategic. Trust the hands that brought them down. He never demolishes without purpose. Sometimes he clears the land before he plants the promise. Israel didn't walk straight into promise. They wandered through empty spaces first. Desolation made room for destiny. If it feels like he's stripping things away, it may be because the promise needs space to take root. You don't need to understand the ruin to hand it over. Job never got full answers, only deeper presence. Restoration came not from clarity, but surrender. Some healing begins without explanation. Trust him with the mess. Even mysteries can bloom in his hands. There's still gold in the rubble. After the Babylonian invasion, God told his people to gather the remnant. Not everything was gone. Some things were hidden. Some treasures only reveal themselves in the aftermath. Dig with hope. What's left may shine brighter than what fell. He's the potter, not the patcher. God doesn't use glue. He uses fire and wheel. He doesn't mend for appearance. He remakes for purpose. The cracks become contours of beauty, not scars of shame. Let him reshape you. You're not being fixed, you're being formed. A broken heart is better than a hard one. Pharaoh ruled from stone. David repented through tears. One gripped control, the other surrendered and became a man after God's own heart. Stay soft. Heaven writes most beautifully on broken things. What you see as buried, God sees as planted. A seed doesn't die in darkness, it awakens. What looks like a funeral might be the first day of growth. Jesus was sealed in the tomb, but heaven was counting to 3. Wait in faith. The stone will roll. What you buried may break open with glory. Some rebuilds start with silence. Before Nehemiah led the rebuilding of Jerusalem's wall, he rode through the ruins by night. No speeches, no plans, just stillness and brokenness. Silence lets you feel the weight of what's lost before faith lifts it. If God is quiet, it may be because he's letting you see the need clearly. What others walk past, God walks toward. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, religious leaders crossed the road, but the Samaritan came closer. The one most expected to walk away was the one who healed. Jesus shows up where compassion is rare. Let him meet you in what others have abandoned. God remembers the blueprint, even when you forget the dream. Zacharias and Elizabeth gave up on what they once prayed for. But when God's appointed time came, he reignited the promise with precision. Divine delay is not divine disinterest. Don't confuse silence with amnesia. God remembers. A ruin is only permanent if you stop expecting more. Bartimaeus refused to be silent. Hope made him louder than the crowd. Sometimes rebuilding starts with an outburst of bold expectation in a quiet place. Open your mouth again. Your next breakthrough may hinge on your persistence. Ruins are an invitation to rebuild with God this time. The Tower of Babel rose from ambition and fell from pride. Pentecost, by contrast, rose from surrender and was filled with power. God isn't against building. He's against building without him. Let this be the rebuild he leads, not the one you launch alone. The ruin isn't the test, the response is. Naomi renamed herself Mara, but Ruth renamed her future. One gave up, the other clung. God moved through the one who stayed faithful when it didn't make sense. How you respond in the ruins will determine who steps into the restoration. Not all ruins are yours to rebuild. Some are God's alone. Moses hit the rock instead of speaking to it. Frustration often tempts us to act when God calls us to trust. The greatest errors come when we try to force what should be yielded. If He hasn't handed you the tools, the assignment isn't yours yet. Wait for His whisper, not your impulse. God will not rebuild what you pretend isn't broken. Adam and Eve hid behind leaves, hoping their cover-up would be enough. But God called them out, not to punish, but to begin repair. Stop patching with pride. Let honesty start the healing. You can mourn the ruin and still move forward. Samuel loved Saul, but God had moved on. Clinging to a closed chapter delays the next one. Mourning is sacred, but it was never meant to be a permanent residence. Pour the oil. The next king needs your obedience, not your nostalgia. The greatest glory often comes after the fall. The cross looked like defeat, but it cracked the gates of hell. Glory rose not in spite of the ruin, but through it. Don't curse what God will use to crown you. I'm your host, Abigail. Stay grounded, stay open, and above all, remember, even the ruins still belong to God. He's not done with you yet.